What's up, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the Big Fight Field channel where we speak the truth, we're honest, and we give out takes on the NFL. It feels surreal, man. It feels surreal. An entire week of NFL is here, and it's the first of 18 weeks plus playoffs. So we are in for hopefully what is going to be a glorious NFL season, especially for this team right here, especially for them. And man, I'm just so excited about this week. I mean, speaking of not only the Miami Dolphins, which of course that is the game I'm looking forward to the most. That is of course the game I'm most invested in and doing my research on. But ladies and gentlemen, there are some great, great games happening this week. We've got a banger on Thursday night, Lamar Jackson versus Patrick Mahomes. We've got a weird and bizarre game on Friday night, not because of the teams playing, but because of the whole location of it. And then Sunday night football, you're talking about a rematch of the wild card round playoffs with Matthew Stafford once again going back to Ford Field to take on his former team, the Detroit Lions. Tell me that doesn't get you excited. Gets me excited for sure. We're going to talk about it all right here on the Big Fight Field channel. I thank you guys so much for joining me. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the Big Fight Field channel. Friday, we were going to be previewing the first Miami Dolphins regular season game of the season against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And I am going to have more stuff to talk about with my trip to Miami. Yes, if you guys don't know, once again, I'm going to South Beach, Miami, Florida. I will be back at Hard Rock Stadium this season, and it's going to happen early in the season. Last year, it happened in December, the abysmal game against the Tennessee Titans. You guys know how that went down. Well, this year we're running it back. Monday Night Football, Week 4 against the Tennessee Titans. I will be at that game again, and there was going to be more stuff that I will talk about. I'll talk more about the trip on Friday in the preview video, but in case you don't know, I will be at that Week 4 Monday night game when the Miami Dolphins take on the Tennessee Titans. That is going to be a hell lot of a fun. It's going to be a lot of fun. That did not make sense at all. A hell lot of a fun. What am I thinking, man? Fuck. Um, but if you guys haven't already, be sure to go ahead and check out the season preview for the Miami Dolphins. I talked about what I think their biggest weakness is. I talked about what I'm most confident about in the team going into this season, and I talked I can't think straight, man. A slight analysis of each game heading into this season for your Miami Dolphins. So be sure to go ahead and check that out before we get to Friday's preview when we exclusively dive into their game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And right now, we are going to exclusively dive into every NFL game happening this week. And we start off with an absolute banger on Thursday night. The Baltimore Ravens go down to Arrowhead to face Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs. The Chiefs are going to be getting their Super Bowl banner again at Arrowhead Stadium. They are 3-point favorites against the Baltimore Ravens. We're getting another matchup between Lamar and Mahomes. We know what happened when they met in the AFC Championship. Lamar Jackson pooped the bed. 10 points for the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC Championship game, and the Chiefs' defense was stellar in that performance. Now, the Ravens, they went out and got a big offseason acquisition. And when I mean big, I mean big. Derrick Henry. Derrick Henry is now the running back for the Baltimore Ravens, and J.K. Dobbins and Gus Edwards are both on the Los Angeles Chargers, and the Kansas City Chiefs. They lost one of their big pieces in the secondary. They lost L'Jarius Sneed. They traded him to the Tennessee Titans because they did not have the money to pay L'Jarius Sneed because they were giving out their big money contracts to Pat Mahomes and Travis Kelce, and they signed Hollywood Brown, and they signed Creed Humphrey to be the highest paid center in NFL history, which is well deserved, by the way. He is one of the best centers in the NFL. So each of these teams had a big offseason, and it all culminates. Not, I wouldn't say culminates, but it all begins in this big, massive stage on Thursday night, the first game of the season. And man, it's hard to bet against Mahomes in this game, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it. Last year, I know they lost to the Lions, which was very exciting. A new team on the rise, like the Detroit Lions, going into Arrowhead last year, winning on opening night was very exciting to watch. I do think this is going to be a close game. I think this is going to be a kind of a game where Kansas City has a big lead going into halftime, like a 2-touchdown lead. And Baltimore, they try to climb back in the second half. They get very close, but they fall short. I'm taking the Chiefs to win. I think it's going to be something like 27-24, a very close game. But man, it would be surprising if the Kansas City Chiefs go down on opening night back-to-back years. That would be wild, man. I'm taking the Chiefs at home. And then we get to Friday. Yes, Friday Night Football. Weird. But this is weird overall. We have the Green Bay Packers taking on the Philadelphia Eagles. And this game is taking place in Sao Paulo, Brazil. This is taking place in Brazil. And if you guys don't know what is going on, there are a ton of wildfires going on in Brazil right now. And there's a whole lot of political stuff going on with Brazil leading into this game where you are not allowed to wear green because I guess green represents like their gang color in Brazil. And if you're wearing green, like they think of you as a gang or whatever. So what the Eagles did was decide we're going to wear all black. We're going to wear black helmets, white jerseys, and black pants while leaving the Green Bay Packers on the outs to wear their green uniforms with their yellow pants. And what's weird, not weird, but wild, is they're going to have bulletproof vest under their shoulder pads when they are playing football in case something happens. This seems like an entire mess. This seems like a bust by the NFL. This should have never happened. And I hope the NFL never goes back to Brazil again. Because this has been an ongoing drama for a couple of months now with this game taking place in Brazil. This could have been a big game at Lincoln Financial Field, at Philadelphia. It could have been a nationally televised 1 o'clock game, or it could have been a Sunday night game where you get this, I don't want to say new look Eagles team, but an Eagles team looking to right their wrongs from last year with the debacle of the ending of the season that they had. New coordinators, Saquon Barkley's the new running back, and coming into town is this young, fresh, hungry team that upset the Dallas Cowboys by kicking their ass in Jerry's World, and they're nearly going into San Francisco and playing in the NFC Championship game against the Detroit Lions. That would have been much better than what we have here with this game in Brazil. But with the team that I'm going with the win, I'm going with the Eagles. The Eagles are going to come out so hungry, I feel like. I feel like Jalen Hurts has something to prove this year. With the ending of last season, he was awful, awful in the last 2 months of the season. And I feel like he has something to prove. I feel like Nick Sirianni has something to prove this season. And I think they're going to come out, they're going to punch the Green Bay Packers in the mouth, and the Packers are not going to know how to respond. So I'm going with the Eagles around 7 to 10 points around there. But I think the Eagles are going to end up controlling this game, and they are going to leave Brazil with a win. I'm going with the Eagles. Then we go to the Sunday games. And by the way, I forgot to say this in the beginning of the video. I will be tracking my picks each week. So I will be letting you know next week how I did this previous week. And then we are going to count up the wins and the losses all season. Just like last year. And then we're going to determine how the week was. If it was a boom or a doom. So that's how it's going to go this year. Then we get to the 1 o'clock games. We have 8 1 o'clock games, 4 o'clock and 4:30 games, a primetime Sunday night, and a primetime Monday night. So, without one of the 1 o'clock games, let's get into these games. First game we're going to talk about, Steelers at Falcons. Man, these teams went through a lot of changes. A lot of changes this offseason. Obviously, you had the whole quarterback drama in Pittsburgh. Their quarterback room was Kenny Pickett, Mitch Trubisky, Mason Rudolph. None of them are quarterbacks anymore on the Steelers roster. They have Russell Wilson and Justin Fields. Russell Wilson was just named the starter for the Steelers this week. And then you look at the Falcons and the Steelers as well. They have a new offensive coordinator. And who is their offensive coordinator, you ask? None other than Atlanta Falcons former head coach Arthur Smith. Then you look at the Atlanta Falcons. They honestly might have had a shot at the playoffs if anybody but Desmond Ridder was the quarterback for the Atlanta Falcons. He is a big bust. He sucks. So what did the Falcons do? They went out and they signed Kirk Cousins to a 4-year, $160 million deal. They got him. Drake London now has a legit quarterback in Kirk Cousins. And they have a new offensive coordinator, Zach Robinson, who came over from the LA Rams. They signed Darnell Mooney. They signed Ray McLeod. They have a top 10 offensive line. This is honestly a tough. They just traded for Matthew Judon, edge rusher from the New England Patriots. They just traded for him. This is honestly a tough game to call because I can easily see Kirk Cousins choking away this game week 1 in the season. But looking at their games coming up, the Atlanta Falcons, they play in Philly week 2 and they play Kansas City at home on Sunday night. So with this team, I would be kind of surprised if they started out the year 0-3. So that's why I'm going to take the Atlanta Falcons in this game, but I would not be shocked. I would not be shocked if the Pittsburgh Steelers ended up going into Atlanta and winning this game. The Falcons are not going to have a home field advantage. There's probably going to be a shit ton of Steelers fans at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and I'm pretty sure this could be a field goal game. Like, literally a game-winning field goal. But I'm going with the Falcons in a close one. Arizona Cardinals, Buffalo Bills. Bills are favored by 6.5. The Bills, man. They lost a lot. And I'm not doing this to brag as a Dolphins fan, but my gosh. They took a huge nosebleed in the offseason with the loss of Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis. They lost Tre'Davious White, Jordan Poyer. Matt Milano got hurt in training camp. He needs surgery on his, I think it's his, like, I can't remember what it was. I don't remember what it was, but Matt Milano needs surgery. He might not be back until December. Yes, they still have Josh Allen at quarterback, but I think that lack of star power is going to get to them sooner rather than later. You look at the back end of their schedule, it is absolutely brutal. They play teams like Kansas City, San Francisco, the Lions. I think they play the Jets. They play the Dolphins 2 games early in the season. Um, they play both. They play New England twice at the end of the season, which is a huge advantage for them. But they've got a lot of tough games in the end of the schedule, just like the Miami Dolphins do. So Buffalo is going to have to take advantage, and they're going to have to start winning early and often. That's what I think they do. Arizona, they might impress people this season with the new connection of Kyler Murray and Marvin Harrison Jr. But you also got Trey McBride, who's an up-and-coming tight end as well. But I'm going with the Bills. I'm going with the Bills for this one. I'm going to play it safe. But don't be surprised if I start picking upsets and it's involving the Bills losing games. So I'm going with the Bills this week, though, beating Arizona. Then we have the New England Patriots against Cincinnati. Come on. Jacoby Brissett is the starting quarterback for the Patriots in Cincinnati. Joe Burrow. Who knows what's going to happen with Jamar Chase and that whole dilemma. But Joe Burrow is back after injuring his hand from last season. Come on. Do we really have to talk about this one? It's Cincinnati. All day. This one I do want to talk about. And I do think there's going to be some eyes on this one. We have the Tennessee Titans versus the Chicago Bears. And obviously there's going to be a lot of eyes on this game because of one, Caleb Williams. He has gotten so much hype. The Chicago Bears are last year's version, or this year's version, of the New York Jets. When the Jets got all the hype leading up to this season. And now, it's the Chicago Bears. The Chicago Bears are getting all this hype. A big market team, a new quarterback with tons of potential, lots of comparisons to Patrick Mahomes. They got Keenan Allen for him. They drafted Rome Odunze. They got DeAndre Swift. They are rolling out the red carpet for Caleb Williams. And this Titans team, they're not a pushover, man. This is not going to be an easy game for Chicago. I think the Titans got better in the offseason. I'm telling you right now. They've got 2 new corners with L'Jarius Sneed and Chidobe Awuzie. They have Calvin Ridley, who's their number 1 receiver. They signed Tyler Boyd to a really cheap contract, which I think was a great deal for them. And they signed Tony Pollard, ex-Dallas Cowboy. The big question for Tennessee this year is the performance of Will Levis. Is Will Levis the franchise quarterback for the Tennessee Titans? Yes, they lost Derrick Henry, but he's got 2 really good running backs and 3 good wide receivers around him. They've got some nice talent around Will Levis. Now, for the game, just kind of like the Steelers and Falcons, would it shock me if the Titans went into Chicago and won this game? Honestly, not a lot. But, come on, man. I'm going to take Chicago to win this game. It's not going to be easy. I'm telling you, the Titans are no slouch. But, man, Chicago is going to be pumped up. Caleb's first game. It's at home. That crowd is going to be rocking. I'm taking the Bears. Bears are going to beat the Tennessee Titans at home. Then we have the Texans going to Indianapolis to face the Indianapolis Colts. Now, I will give you one upset pick and one lock for the week. And my upset pick is the Indianapolis Colts over the Houston Texans. Their season ended in heartbreaking fashion. They were one play away from going to the playoffs with Gardner Minshew. Gardner Minshew at quarterback. If it wasn't for Tyler Goodson and that drop on 4th and 1, they might have made the playoffs last year. They would have won the division. And who knows how far they would have gotten into the playoffs. But they were one play away from potentially going to the playoffs with Gardner Minshew. And the Texans, they are getting a lot of hype this offseason as well. As deserved, though. Their offense looks ridiculous around CJ Stroud. Their time to win is now. They have a 2 to 3 year window to win a Super Bowl now before they have to pay CJ Stroud a boatload of money. Now is for the time for the Houston Texans to win the Super Bowl, win a championship. They just went out and they traded for Joe Mixon. They traded for Stephon Diggs. They signed Danielle Hunter. Big moves this offseason by D'Amico Ryans and the Texans organization. I do think they're one of the better teams in the AFC. However, I'm thinking Indy's going to get their revenge. And just because they lose their first game of the season, that doesn't mean I don't think they're going to have a great season. I do think they're going to have a great season. But in this particular instance, I'm taking the Colts at home, Anthony Richardson, as my upset of the week over the Houston Texans. Now, we have a couple games to fly by because nobody cares about them and they don't mean shit. The Carolina Panthers versus the New Orleans Saints. I'll take the Saints at home at Mercedes-Benz Superdome. Two teams that are very meh, and the Saints might have the most boring team in the NFL. So I'm taking the Saints over the Panthers. Minnesota versus the Giants. This is hard. I'll take the Vikings just because I don't think I've picked a road team to win this week so far. I think I've taken all home teams. So, matter of fact, I have. Yeah, so this will be my first road team. I'll take the Vikings over the Giants at MetLife Stadium. So those are the two games. Saints over Panthers, Vikings over Giants. Raiders, Chargers, Jim Harbaugh. The Jim Harbaugh era has begun in Los Angeles. Justin Herbert doesn't have a lot of great targets. However, I do think Ladd McConkey is going to be a great target for Justin Herbert. He is on my fantasy team on the bench, but man, I think he's got a lot of potential. I'm going to take the Chargers. And this could be a close one because I actually think the Raiders offense has potential to score points with Gardner Minshew. I took Devontae Adams in a fantasy draft over Mike Evans. So I hope it pans out where he is going to get enough targets with Gardner Minshew at quarterback. But I'm going to take the Chargers over the Las Vegas Raiders. Broncos, Seahawks. This is my lock of the week. Bo Nix's first NFL start is going to be in Lumen Field with the 12th man. No way. No way. Seattle all day. I think people really underrate Seattle too. I think Seattle has a better team than people think they have. You know, um, they signed a couple ex-Dolphins, Connor Williams and Jerome Baker, but they have one of the most underrated secondaries in the NFL with Devon Witherspoon and Tariq Woolen. I can't wait to talk about them in a couple weeks when the Dolphins play them. They've got a top 10 receiving core with DK Metcalf, Jackson Smith-Njigba, Tyler Lockett. They obviously have Kenneth Walker, and Geno Smith is doing a fine job so far. And I think they're going to come out and they're going to ball against the Denver Broncos, and that's why they are my lock of the week. I'm taking the Seahawks over the Denver Broncos. Then we have the Washington Commanders with Jaden Daniels making his first NFL start in Tampa against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Baker Mayfield got the bag in the offseason. A lot of excitement over Jaden Daniels. But I think Tampa Bay's just better. And that's basically what I think it is with this game. Is you look at both rosters, yeah, they could keep it close, Washington, but at the end of the day, Tampa Bay just has a better roster. Baker Mayfield has potential to get well over 300 passing yards against that secondary of Washington. He has potential to have a great day, a great opening day. Mike Evans could go for 150 this week. I wouldn't be shocked if he does. And I'm going with the Bucs over the Washington Commanders. But then we flip over to 3 big games this week, ladies and gentlemen. The Dallas Cowboys versus the Cleveland Browns. And with the whole CeeDee Lamb drama going and the disastrous offseason that the Cowboys had, if you'd asked me 3 weeks ago who I like opening day, I would have told you the Browns are going to win by 3 touchdowns. But now I'm fast-tracking that back. And I know the Browns have a really good defense at home. Especially at home, they play good defense. But I'm actually going with the Cowboys. I'm going with Dallas to pick up the road win in Cleveland. It's going to be a great game. And my reason that I think that Dallas is going to win is because of Deshaun Watson. And I don't trust Deshaun Watson until I see that he's progressed and that he's gotten better under the Cleveland Browns uniform. I do think this is going to be low. This has potential to be a low-scoring game. 17-13 I'm calling. That's going to be my prediction. I'm calling a 17-13 type game. Dallas Cowboys over the Cleveland Browns. And people are already going to be asking questions Monday morning about Deshaun Watson. And the Browns have a Super Bowl caliber defense. They do. They do. But I think Deshaun Watson's going to hold them back this year. Sunday night, Los Angeles Rams, Detroit Lions. Must-see television. Must-see television on Sunday night. You have Matthew Stafford going back to Ford Field to take on Detroit Lions. Beat them by 1 in the playoff game last year. How's it going to fare this time? And ladies and gentlemen, give me the effing Rams. What's the spread? 3.5? Alright. So I'm going to scratch that Colts game. I'm still taking the Colts over the Texans, but because they're at home and the Rams are on the road, my upset of the week is going to be the Los Angeles Rams going to Ford Field on Sunday night and beating the Lions. I think they make a huge statement. This is very similar to the Texans and the Colts game. I think they just they get revenge from what happened in the postseason. They lost by 1 point to the Detroit Lions, and I think they go in there and they get their revenge, and they beat the Lions. I think Matthew Stafford, Cooper Kupp, I've been hearing great things about, and I'll tell you what, ladies and gentlemen, I said it in my slight analysis talking about the Dolphins facing the Rams this year. If I have a sleeper team in the NFC that I really like, a dark horse team, it's the Los Angeles Rams. Cooper Kupp is back to not wide receiver #1 form, and I think Kyren Williams is going to break out even more than he did last year. Give me the Rams as my upset of the week over the Detroit Lions. And then Monday night, we finish off with the San Francisco 49ers hosting that old, angry, disgruntled quarterback, Aaron Rodgers, and the trash-ass, armpit-smelly New York Jets. And I can't wait to watch the New York Jets get their absolute ass whooped by the San Francisco 49ers on Monday night. I'm going with the Niners over the Jets. And that's my week 1 predictions video. I hope you guys enjoyed it a lot. I hope you enjoyed my analysis. I'll be back Friday previewing the week 1 matchup, the first Miami Dolphins regular season game against the Jacksonville Jaguars. And if you're realizing now, why did I not talk about the Dolphins versus the Jaguars on this video? Well, because the Miami Dolphins, they get their own separate video. We're going to be previewing that game in its own video on Friday, so stay tuned for that. But be sure to subscribe to the Big Fight Field channel. Hit the like button if you like what you heard from me. Follow me on Twitter, Conlin_Joseph. I'm back in the Dolphins Twitter community. Of course, I'm going to be live tweeting during the game on Sunday against the Jaguars. And yeah, that's all I got. I will see you Friday for the preview. Jags, Dolphins. Have a good night. Stay safe. And as always, stay classy. And I'm out. Peace. Fins up.